So, yeah, last lesson at the end of the game, we talked a little bit about swindling your opponent, and I said maybe I can show you a couple of my recent swindles. So I thought that's what we could do today. So in this position, I'm white, and I was playing a FIDE master who's almost 2,500 USCF, and I'm in a terrible situation. I'm completely losing. I'm way down on time. So I'm just trying to cause my opponent as many problems as possible. And I ended up drawing the game. So it is possible to get something out of the game, even though I shouldn't. So that's the goal. So yeah, any move you play is objectively losing, but white to play and cause black some issues.
So one move that for some reason I'm thinking about is knight b3. I don't think it really caused black much of an issue though. I feel like it gives a nice decision between knight takes b3 and knight c4.
There's queen's hanging with knight b3.
Oh yeah, so I was originally thinking knight takes b3, but c4 came in. Oh wait, I guess yeah. No, it's not as well because I was thinking knight b3, knight b3, ab3, d4, you do have c4, which that's not good to even pass pawn, but it's you don't lose pawn.
I thought after a takes b3 he would play rook e3, threatening c3, and rook d e8.
So after rook e3 when it trade, yeah, I don't, like I said, knight b3 is what I first thought of, but I don't really think it really makes so much sense. To use another option would be rook takes e8, but that feels dumb because it's giving e file to black.
Yeah, when I say cause black some issues, I don't necessarily mean attack right now or create some threats. I just mean make it as hard as possible for him to win. Or maybe trick him. I mean, that can mean a variety of things. What I really mean is don't just kind of roll over and let him win easily. Like, yes, it's at least -3 for black, so he should win, but it doesn't mean you should just give him the win. You want to make it as tough as possible. That's what I really mean.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess another option could be like rook e6. Kind of going up to f6 pawn. And if he takes, it's nice because you undouble your pawns, and then you can play like rook e1. You have supported fast pawn. Or you could play queen f5, which is a lot trickier. Yeah, so he probably can't take. He probably have to defend his pawn. Well, not that he can't take, but it would be more normal.
Is that a fine answer?
Unless I'm missing something, I kind of like that idea, like rook e6, and then like if rook f8, rook fe1.
I mean, rook e6, rook f8 is a massive improvement of the white position. I mean, at least temporarily, you have control over the open file, and he's tied to the f6 pawn. I mean, maybe he can play rook d8, but it feels like it gives you at least a move. But yeah, rook fe1 would dominate the e file.
Yeah, it feels like it's maybe it is best to for black to play like rook e6, rook takes e6, f takes e6, and then like if queen f5, queen e7 or something like that. But yeah, I feel like that's an improvement of the position for white.
Yeah, that e pawn looks annoying for black. The beauty of being completely lost is that there's nothing to lose, nothing to worry about. Like normally you might think, what if he surrounds the pawn? But you're losing anyway. So as long as you're causing him some practical problems, it's good. Nothing to lose. So yeah, I played rook e6. I think I thought for about 4 minutes here. I played rook e6. And he took, which was good enough. Takes. Queen e3. That was actually what I was mainly thinking about before I played rook e6. I don't even think it's necessarily relevant to look at because I'm not sure what other choice you have. As we said, if knight b3 takes, this is great for the pawn structure, but it gives black time. So yeah, rook e3 looks quite strong to me. I mean, he's threatening queen takes c3, so b4 doesn't win. Yeah, you mentioned takes, but now black has full control over the e file, so it's pretty easy for him to play rook e8. I mean, basically, he's a pawn up with a better pawn structure, so he's got d4 ideas. He's just got many ways to improve the position. I don't think you're going to get very far by doubling on the a file and trying to give mate. I think black can always play c6, king c7, if necessary.
Yeah, I feel like some positions I've seen this is kind of like where it's in some way helpful to like move the a pawn to combine with the c pawn like that. But yeah, this position is, and like you're not going to attack the king. It's too many extra pawns, and the a file isn't that weak because I mean at the very least it has king d7.
Yeah, I mean, if you could take on b7, then you're getting somewhere. But yeah, I think c6, king c7, he's just got 4 pawns around the king and a rook. He's just got too many defenders around the king for an attack to work. Yeah, I mean, in this position, there's one open file, and as you know, that means it's the most important it could be in terms of how many open files there are. Is important. So black would like to make moves like rook e3 or rook e5 and double on the e file, and white would like to make moves like rook e6 and double on the e file. So I think that's very important. So yeah, so I play rook e6, takes, queen e3. So you mentioned queen f5. I don't think there's really any alternative, so I play queen f5. This is what I saw before I played rook e6. I thought if rook e8, I thought about rook e8 because I wanted to make sure I just wasn't losing the pawn immediately. And my intention wasn't the best move. It turns out there's a brilliant move which changes things. See if you can find it.
Knight e4 is an interesting idea. It's basically if d4, then you go e7 check, king b8, and queen d7, and you just exactly work for the pawn. And this king would be pretty weak.
I'm not sure his king would be weak, but you're trying to win an exchange.
But yeah, it's not really that weak, but it's more openings.
Yeah, I don't think it's about the black king. I think the point of knight e4 is to try to win the exchange. I mean, if you don't go knight e4, I don't see how you're really winning material.
Yeah, I guess you are winning the pawn back. Because originally I was just thinking, well, he takes a knight and a pawn, just take a hook. But yeah, because the e pawn's like reversed into the queen, you should be able to win it back somehow. Well, maybe it's tricky.
Yeah, but don't you see that you're winning the exchange? Like,
yeah,
exactly. So, regardless of like whether you're losing a pawn in the process or whatever, winning an exchange is still good. The variations are kind of confusing, but knight e4 wins an exchange, so that's good. I didn't see that during the game. I guess I didn't need to see it during the game. I just thought I could play check and take on d5. At least I'm not losing the knight or anything to a skewer. and not losing a pawn for nothing. So that's what I saw in advance. But I mean, he didn't play rook e8. He didn't fall for this, but knight e4 equalizes because yeah, I mean that knight was dominated by the d5 pawn. So now suddenly it's in the center. It's great, threatening f6. Yeah, point is that it blocks the queen's defense back on the e file. So yeah, f takes, then check, queen d7, and you win the rook for the pawn. So yeah, what's happened in this variation is he won the exchange for a pawn, and you could start calculating more what happens now, but this is the best way to play. So yeah, I think black should now play queen d3, unpinning, and the variation goes on. But yeah, the point is this is clearly the right way to play, and this is equal. I think actually the way it goes is black ends up making a perpetual check draw on the king side. But yeah. Anyway, in the game he played the much better move, queen e5, which I also saw in advance. And again, we're still completely losing, playing with very strong opponents. He only threw away the win in time travel much later in the game, so got to keep swindling him for a long time. So how are you going to keep causing black some problems?
I feel like queen g4 is kind of necessary. Because you don't really want to trade queens. Especially, well, you especially don't want to take on e5 right away because then I think he's just going to win. And I keep not counting that b captures the tempo, so I think it's fine. Because I was thinking like queen e5, f e5, and rook e8, rook e1 gets the pawn first. No. So maybe that's not actually that bad. Like queen e5, f e5, rook e1. I guess he has knight c6, so it's yeah. So I don't think that's very good.
Yeah, I thought about queen e5 and rook e1 during the game.
Yeah, trying to stack your queen with e7 just doesn't work because you just get a rook back.
Yes, I guess there isn't so much choice.
Yeah, I guess it's probably just queen g4.
Yep.
In
this case, not so much choice, but yeah. Point is, queen takes e5 really does lose. This is a pretty simple concept. He just rounds out the e6 pawn with 2 pawns down and losing. So don't go for that. Queen g4. A lot of the moves I made in this swindling phase of the game, I mean, I didn't show you the first part of the game where I go into this mess, but a lot of the moves that I made in this phase of the game, I didn't even check properly. I just thought, okay, I pretty much resign or I play this move. Like against 2500, I'm just going to lose this like basically every single time. So there's no point going for this or anything else. Like there's no point putting the queen anywhere else and going 2 pawns down. I'm just going to lose every time pretty much. So I just have to go queen g4. If for some reason he's got like a tactic which wins immediately, okay, then I resign. But I may as well just play it, hit the clock, and go from there. Rook e8.
All right,
So I'm being threatened with going 2 pawns down, which would be really bad. So what now?
So I mean now e7 check is tempting, but it kind of just delays losing the pawn for now.
Yeah, you just got to come up with something to give him some problems.
One thing that would thinking that would be a nice way to like tactically defend the pawn is if I could somehow get my knight to f3. He's then, I guess, yeah, no, because once he takes, then I play rook e1. Well, I guess if he takes with the queen, I play rook e1. It's queen g4, rook e8, king f7, and then it's just a trade where I lose a pawn.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It feels like that's our big trick, but it doesn't actually lead anywhere. We still end up 2 points down and night ending. This
Yeah.
is the thing when you're in a lost position. The tactics generally work out in your opponent's favor.
So maybe you have to go e7, then f4? Is e7, king b8, f4? Oh wait, sorry. You still need an extra tempo for it to work. E7, king b8, queen d7, which I had looked at a little bit earlier. Just takes with the rook, and then I don't think there's any actual threat on the back rank.
Yeah.
Everything's
I
defended.
thought e7 check king b8 f4 was much better, much more likely to work.
Oh yeah, because I was just thinking about going knight f3. I wasn't thinking too much about trying to take on g5. Well, I guess you can't.
Yeah, whatever
really
you're looking at is just to create some threats, just to create some trouble. Everything loses. It's just to create some threats.
Yeah.
I mean, I could already accept this f4 idea because after queen takes e7, f takes g5, let's say f takes g5, rook f5, or maybe knight f3, you're at least putting a lot of pressure on the weak g5 pawn. And if you can win that pawn, you're only 1 pawn down with some imbalances. So I think what I played in the game is better, but yeah, at least you're causing some issues. I played some idea pretty much, just a better version, I think. Do you see how to play a better version of that?
I don't think f4 right away is good because now when if the main problem is queen takes e6 and your queen is threatened with the trade.
Well, are you necessarily is that necessarily that you have to avoid
No,
trader queens?
trying to figure out. Yeah, so maybe you can go f4, queen takes e6, queen takes e6, rook takes e6, f takes g5, f takes g5, rook f8 check, king d7, rook g8. And then if rook e5, you have knight f3. But maybe rook e2 is good there. Or, I mean, before, instead of rook e5. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, but I think even that is another good swindling attempt because you're clearly losing on the queen side, but you're trying to win a pawn on the king side and have some counterplay. So
Yeah, and then the h4 pawn's going to become weak because you have knight f3, and you can take the g pawn.
Okay, so anyway, I played f4, which I think is the best move. By the way, at the minute, it's not completely lost. It's like -2 point something. So it does kind of matter what I play in terms of objective value. I think this is actually the only move I'm going to show you that I'm not happy with totally. I played rook e1, which is a good swindling attempt. The best move objectively is f takes g5. takes, rook f5.
I
With
would have thought
double
it was
attack.
worse to double your pawns.
Say again?
I would have thought it was worse to double your pawns than to just go for the line instead.
I think the point is that when I take on g5, I've already got a passed pawn. And it's already on g4.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wanted to keep my pawns together, side by side, not doubled. But yeah, this is what the computer says. So yeah, the line is knight c4. Because this is also a bit confusing, because if I take on c4, then we're in a pure rook ending, and I'm getting pressure on the queen side. But knight f3 keeps the knights. Then I take a pawn back, and I'm only a pawn down, and g5 is hanging. The line just keeps going, like knight e3 double attack. But clearly, I mean, already I'm starting to force black to find some tough moves like knight c4. It doesn't want to go rook g8 at all. Like, who would want to play rook g8 when you're 2 pawns up? So I'm already starting to force him to play some good moves, even in this variation. Yeah, your line, I like your line. I thought rook f5, very similar to the line we just saw, except with the pawn back on h3. So, because this is a double attack, so I'm not sure this is really necessary. Yeah, probably rook e2 now. Although, yeah, after knight f3, as I said, at least you have some counterplay. I think generally, if you put yourself in black shoes, he's winning. He's been winning for a long time. He's material up. We're going for an end game. He wants to just keep control of the situation and not allow counterplay and just win smoothly with no risk. He doesn't want to have to deal with lots of counterplay. Just generally, there are different ways of defending. For example, you go for a fortress, which does not work, and force him to break it down. It could be tough to break down. Yeah, I think going for counterplay is generally the best policy. So anyway, I played rook e1. So by now I realized that this trick was not winning anything, disappointingly. But yeah, I had a similar idea actually. I end up with these double G pawns. Takes, knight f3. So it's similar. We're just now a knight ending. Rooks are off the board. Knight c4 takes knight e3. So yeah, so it still might seem like how could I get a draw out of this? I'm just in a losing knight ending. We just got to keep causing him problems. By the way, a lot of what I was thinking in this phase of the game was I wanted to drain his clock. Yeah, at this point he's got 23 minutes, and I was just thinking, okay, even if I'm not causing him too much trouble on the board, if I can just get him in time trouble, he could start making mistakes in time trouble. So again, how can you cause black some issues?
Yes, I guess the most like natural move would be like knight f3 because he's attacking your pawn, so you attack the pawn right next to it. But I think that knight a6 might be better. Like knight a6, king d7, knight f4. Maybe if he defends that too, you can go like. Actually, wait. Knight f6 is c6, which is a problem.
Sorry, what was the last bit?
Knight e6 is c6. Which I forgot about. Is now that also defends the d5.
Yeah, that was my main line, knight e6.
Although maybe then you can go g5.
Yeah, I thought about everything that you've mentioned so far.
Yeah, so to me, what I don't like about knight f3 is that once you take on h4, yeah, you've traded pawns, but he now just has a 4-on-2. You should be able to pretty easily stop your g pawn.
So yeah, what I don't like about that variation is that yes, I have an outside pass pawn, but it's blockaded by the g4 knight. My king, it's going to take my king a while to get into the game. I probably have to play something like g3, king g2, king f3, which takes 3 moves just to hit the knight. So it's very slow. I mean, right now I already have a pass pawn on g4. Um, so that's why I don't really want to trade those pawns. I mean, trading pawns is good generally speaking, if you have the disadvantage. But yeah, black would still have 4 pawns, so it's not making a huge difference.
Yeah, so the main problem for me about 96 and G5 is that it feels a little bit loose, I guess. But I think there's no real way for him to take advantage of that. Like if his king could somehow top boards like F5, it'd be a problem, but it's too far away.
Well, that's kind of the point. We're trying to force black to prove the win rather than just make it easy for him. So I would rather the downfall being too loose rather than just letting him queen on the queen side. So I played knight
Yeah.
e6. And yeah, I think my idea was king d7, knight f4, as you said. C6. Yeah, this really put me off when I first saw it, but yeah, I played your idea. G5, king e7.
Now assume knight d4. Um, then c5. I guess then you can go knight f3 maybe. Yeah, I think that's probably good.
But he also has knight d1 after knight f3, and he takes on c3.
Yeah, so maybe knight f4 is better. And just preventing the king from coming forward, I guess. And also preventing c5.
Well, he could still play c5 right now, but it might make it harder for him to play c5 and knight d1. I mean, he can't do
Yeah.
that. No. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like knight f4. The knight and pawn, by the way, coordinate very well like this because they control all these squares. So his king can't really get, through any of these squares. I hit d5, protect g2. And knight e2 is even a possibility. So he played knight d1. I was considering knight e2. Um, so yeah, I think there's lots of benefits to knight f4. But yeah, now do I go knight e2 or not?
Don't think there's a better move. I mean, you could go knight g5, but
Wait, you mean what do you mean? Knight g6?
knight g6, yeah. So, like knight g6, king f7. I don't think it's a good idea to give him connected pass pawns.
Well, we might have to, but yeah,
Yeah, you might have
seems
to.
too slow to me.
Yeah, the only other way to not just like give up the pawn for nothing would be c4, but that doesn't make any sense. And then you're still gonna play knight c3 in a couple moves and go to the a3 pawn. So you probably have to play knight e2.
I was thinking about knight e2, but I play a different move, which I prefer. How can you create
I guess
counterplay?
pawn g6, then king f8.
Would it just have to go king f8?
Oh, I forgot that g7 opens up f7, so that doesn't. No, that doesn't do anything.
The thing is, clearly, given time, black will win easily on the queen side. We know black's winning. The thing is, we don't want him to win too easily. We don't want his pawns to start steaming down the middle um, with nothing to do, and then we just lose. And also, we don't want to go too passive when we're still never going to lose in the long run. And if we're passive, we have no counterplay. So basically, we need to create some counterplay without just like losing immediately. That's basically the goal.
Yeah. So I guess maybe there's another idea to knight g6, which is that if actually no, because you can go king e6, it doesn't have to get f7. Because I was thinking if king f7, then you might have like 95, which I guess then he also can go to king e6. That doesn't
Yeah, I feel like knight g6 check takes h4 is very slow. You take 2 moves, move the knight to the rim. Yes, you win a pawn, but your g2 pawn is free, but it's the behind doubled pawn, so you can't really cause too much damage with that. And in the meantime, black's going to seem very fast, especially with the knight moving away from the center.
Yeah, don't.
So I think he needs to include another piece in the game.
Like moving the king out is too slow. He's just gonna take off the pawns on the queen side and put his d pawn or some other pawn.
But that's how you create counterplay. That's how we can make the g pawn menacing. With the king involved, with the combination of king, knight, and g5 pawn, we can actually create real threats. Like if given time, we can actually queen that pawn, because if he tries to block with his king, we can just check and force his king out of the way and queen the pawn.
So I guess in king h2, the
Yeah, I mean, basically the choice is king h2 or knight e2. I just thought knight e2 is too passive. I guess that's another way of playing, but I like king h2. Yeah, my point is that really, certainly compared to knight g6, check takes h4. As I said, in my opinion, it takes 2 moves, moving the knight to a worse square. I know you take the pawn. I know that king h2, h3, king takes h4 takes an extra move, but then the king is really involved in the play. So yeah, at the minute, it does nothing. So I prefer this. Like the knight covers d3 from f4, so we're keeping used to that right now on f4. Yeah, it is slow. Yes, we are losing, but I think this is the best try, and it ultimately worked. So king h2 takes king h3, c5, king takes h4, d4. So yeah, starting to get messy around here, but just kept setting him more problems.
So I guess maybe you could try to continue with the idea just like king h5, king h6, king h7, but he's not gonna just let you do that, I don't think.
But how does he stop it?
I guess he has to try to get his king to g8.
But in a given time, we can always give a check.
Yeah.
The thing is, he can't just stop the g pawn with only his king. He could bring his knight back, maybe, or just push his pawns himself. But he can't just stop the g pawn with only the king.
Yeah. So king h5, he might have like knight e4. Then I should go g6. Because I don't know for sure, but the idea of like king h6 and then knight takes g5, king takes g5, that just it seems like you shouldn't be able to stop those pawns. Like c4. So you probably have to go g6, which allows king f6.
Sorry, what was the last variation you said?
King h5, knight e4, and then g6, king f6. Yeah, then if king h6 is wait, I can't go to that square. So okay, so I guess after king f6, you probably have knight d5. Actually, then the peg is too far away from the pawns. Yeah, then you probably want to play king h6 and then think about knight d5.
Well, I think honestly at this point it's very clear what my plan is. I'm not even sure the implementation makes that much difference. I was thinking about king h5 and another move you haven't mentioned. I think I accept king h5. During the game, I was actually regretting not playing king h5. Yeah, honestly, after what I played, it gets very confusing. I suppose it's a good thing. Maybe I was confusing myself, but maybe if I can't understand it myself, that's a good sign already that it's not just completely over. I played knight g6 check, which I mean, if the goal is to confuse, everyone involved, that's great. It really worked. So I can't even remember what the point was exactly. I mean, I guess the thing is after king f7, his king is extremely vulnerable to checks. Maybe like king h5, and he can't push the c or d pawns because of knight e5 check, and I win the pawn with a fork, which already seems quite annoying. So I think my idea was to bring the knight back to e5, like if king e8, for example, and I cover c4 and d3, and then I can come back to f3 as well, maybe in the future to halt his pawns. So yeah, just trying to be awkward. He played king e6. I think my idea is knight f4 check, but I don't think I liked it after king f5. G6, king f6. So now I play king h5. C4. Check. We're starting to get lower on time here. He's down to 13 minutes now 11. Check. King e8. Of course he wants to win. Not going for a draw. Knight e5. And somewhere around here I stopped notating the times, but I went below 5 minutes, so I didn't actually know exactly how much time each of us had. But now he played d3. And it was around here that I suddenly started believing that maybe it's actually drawn with best play. And it is. This is where you throw away the win. So this was 21 moves after the start that I started showing you. So this entire time until now, I've just been lost. Like, okay, maybe once it was -2 point something, but I've just been lost the entire time. All I've been trying to do is causing problems with a lost position. Objectively, I've just lost the entire time. And now finally, after 21 moves, we're trying to swindle him. It worked, and then I've just got to convert and draw this drawn position. In hindsight, if I was just to show you this position, it would look pretty simple. The winning move, only one winning move, but the winning move was the very simple b5, just defending c4. That's what you suggested in the analysis. G6, and there's only one winning move again. You can try and find it if you want. There is some difficulty.
My initial guess would have been king f8. I feel like you have to do that. Because it just slows down white's pawn to give you time to put you in.
I mean, G7 would queen if you allow that. So yeah, you have to go king f8.
Yeah.
This is the only winning move. I think really the only difficulty with this is the length of the variation. The moves themselves are very simple. Now white's threatening king h7, so you have to go king g8. And now I would like to play like bring the knight to e7 or f6 with check. So black plays the very natural knight d5, covering f6 and e7. I don't know if black could have played d3 instead, but regardless, certainly it's like the knight's going to come to.
I would guess you can play d3 and then knight d5.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it matters.
Although one other idea is king g6, knight g4, knight h6. There's a third square you can give check from.
The plan means d3 is better, right? Because then you potentially don't waste time on moving the knight.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why I had knight d5 in my notes, but knight d5 is good enough. I mean, black's still going to win on the queen side, and he's still stopping white on the king side. Knight g4. Yeah, during the game, I thought I could definitely have some chances. But basically, if I bring the knight to h6, f6, or e7, at minimum, I can queen with check. And then I might even have a position where I'm a knight down with queen versus queen and knight if it takes the knight. But I at least might have some chances with some perpetual checks or winning his knight, or hopefully just giving mate immediately or something. That was what I was thinking. It doesn't work. I'll just show you the line I had in my notes, which wins for black. Yeah, it looks like d3 is also winning. Maybe that's better humanly. But anyway, knight d5 wins. d3, king g6. The big point is black has this check on e7. Otherwise, you're getting mated to knight h6. So check. So my idea was to try and take the knight, come back and check, but now white is too slow, which is not surprising. It kind of looked like white was too slow the whole time. So yeah, if white had one more move, I would win. Knight h6 check, king h7, g8, queen check, king takes h6, queen g6 mate. So if it was white to move here, white would win by force. But it's black to move, so black wins easily. The thing is, this was an 8-move variation to calculate from here. And he definitely had no more than 11 minutes. He was probably a little bit lower than that. Given that it literally wins by one tempo, he maybe felt the urgency to play d3, which is understandable.
Yeah, like I feel like it's a fairly forced variation, but there's also a lot of like potential threats. Like if you don't have 97, 96, or 96 is just me.
Exactly. So my point is, like some people would say, oh, I got lucky. He just blundered. You know, b5 is obvious. King f8 is forced. King g8 is forced. He was winning. I got lucky. Which is a fair perspective. But the other perspective is I've done really well to cause him as many problems as possible over the past 21 moves on the board and on the clock. And finally, I forced him to calculate an 8-move variation that wins by one tempo, or else it loses by force, with not much time on the clock. And he got it wrong. And I think he's played quite well up until now. It's not as though he's just been careless, I think, making his task harder unnecessarily. I think he's played well. And we actually pointed out a couple of chances where he could have gone wrong, like with Rook E8, like right at the start, when it's already equal. So he's actually, if anything, bypassed some of these pitfalls. Haven't noticed him make any silly moves or anything obvious where he could have made his task easier. And now I get my reward and he's gone wrong. And it's funny because now it's almost like the pressure is reversed. Like now, it's not as though, obviously during the game, I know the exact evaluation at all times. It's not as though someone tells me, okay, now it's in my hands to draw, but it's like the pressure flips. Like before he was completely winning and the pressure's on him to win with more time for sure. And now I've got a chance and I'm short on time and it's up to me to make my draw and not somehow get tricked and lose. So yeah, now we're in the conversion phase, if you like, of the Swindle. Unfortunately, we're not winning, but we can salvage a draw. So how does white draw?
As soon as knight c4.
Yeah, that's the point of b5. So yeah, the reason why I suddenly felt like I could draw was I realized that I could actually bring the king back to the center, and it might work because it's before for a long time I've been saying, okay, clearly black will win on the queen side long term, and he still has 2 extra pawns on the queen side and in the center. But you can see the contours of an idea of bringing the white king back to the d pawn and maybe using the g pawns as a distracting force. And if we have something like knight and a pawn against knight and b pawns, then that looks very drawish. And we're not very far away from that. So it is starting to look much more drawish. Like clearly taking that connected pass pawn made a huge difference. Yeah, I don't know how many ways there are to draw. During the game, it felt very dramatic, short on time. Probably it's already an easy draw, but I play king h6, d2, knight b2. Yeah, the point is, if he tries to win my knight for the d pawn, I'm getting king h7 and I'm queening pretty quickly. So it's not that simple. So you pick king f7. Now I play knight d1 to stop him threatening d1 with his knight. Yeah, I didn't want to allow b4 and knight c3, so I played a3. king g6, trying to come back to the center. By the way, when I was making these moves, I had no idea whether I was drawing, whether I'd already blown it. I was just very short on time. I was just hoping that I was going to draw. What now?
Maybe king b4.
Yeah, I think that may also draw and play a different move.
King c6 was my first instinct, but I don't know. It doesn't make much sense. Like,
Try to win a pawn.
yeah, but I feel like so it probably doesn't really matter, but the like to me, I feel like it's better to try to get the d pawn and leave him with double b pawns than to try to get the double b pawn that isn't doing anything enough. But,
Fair enough. Maybe you're right. I guess at the time I was just very materialistic, wanting to take the pawns. Yeah, I think king d4 works as well. I play king c6, b4 takes, knight b1. And yeah, I mean, if king d4 draws, then you're probably right that that was practically easier, because now I was very proud of myself that I avoided two big pitfalls very short on time. I think I literally had about 10 seconds. So how does white draw now?
I think you have to go knight b2.
That was not in my notes, but maybe that's also fine.
Wait, no.
I think it's
Okay,
fine.
I think I was thinking that I think my plan, the move order maybe can be reversed, which with king c5 and then
King c5, knight c3.
And king c5, knight c3, knight b2. So it's
Knight a4 check. That's one of the pitfalls.
Okay, yeah, that's what I missed.
Yeah, in knight endings like this, you've really got to watch out for those knight forks where the knight gets distracted away from where it wants to be.
Yeah. So
king c5 loses. So I thought that was the most natural move and it loses. So I had to avoid that.
maybe you can go king a5. King a5, knight c3, knight b2. I mean, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah.
A5.
Basically, the idea behind king c5 is good, trying to hit the b4 pawn, but you don't want to lose to a tactic. So king a5 simply gets out of the range of knight forks. By the way, king c5 is very unfortunate because, for example, if knight f2, there's knight e4 check. Or if knight e3, then I'm not blocking the b pawn. So king c5 is a very unfortunate square for the king. King a5 is right. Of course, if king b5, knight c3 check. This is pretty obvious, but another pitfall. So, you know, out of king a5, king b5, and king c5, only one draws, and I got the right one. Yeah, so by now, this is a little bit irrelevant to the topic of swindling the opponent, but it's not like when you swindle the opponent, you just get your result. You still have to play the rest of the game. So knight c3, knight b2, knight d5. And this is a big scare. I was going to play king takes b4, and just had knight d3 check.
Yeah. So if I go knight d1 or king b3, not really sure if one's necessarily better.
Maybe knight d1 is good enough, but I think there's a cleaner option.
Or
Yeah,
you can still go king b4, I think, because
knight d3.
then if knight d3, king c3.
Yeah. Then I realized that, and then that really is it. When I take all his pawns, that's it. I felt like I might accidentally take the knight, even though I saw it just out of instinct. But yeah, king c3.
I don't think it was exactly that, but well, obviously it wasn't a very important game. But like yesterday when I was playing a game, like I think it was completely winning no matter what, but I saw a tactic that won like immediately if I took the piece that wasn't most natural to take, and then once I got to that position, I took the more natural piece to take. But yeah, it was still completely winning, so it didn't matter. But I just like, oh, that's not what I meant to do.
Yeah, when you move, it's really important that you focus on the move you're going to make because this is a bit different. But a problem that I've had is like, say for instance, I'm calculating a variation, and then I'm like, okay, well, what do I do on move three of the variation? And I'm like, oh, I play this move on this variation, and this wins. Fantastic! I found this move, and I got like bishop e7 in my mind. Like, yes, bishop e7 works. So I'm like, okay, this works. And I go bishop e7. I'm like, no, that's supposed to be move three. Like move one was like knight f5, whatever.
Yeah.
And I played the wrong
Yeah.
move. I'm like, that's supposed to be like later down the line. So you gotta focus like, no, bishop e7 works like after such and such move. So I'm gonna be like, no, play the first move first. Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, so king c3 and that's over. For some reason, the game actually continued a couple more moves. Guess both of us were just used to playing. But yeah, I offered a draw because I didn't want to accidentally flag. He took it because he's got no reason to play on. So I drew. So I was very happy with that result. And the reason why I got the result purely was the good swindle. I mean, this position. I mean, I didn't show the whole game. So, but I mean, this position, for instance, I've made 24 moves. I'm just completely losing with white. So this is just terrible. Regardless of the strength of the opponent. But yeah, everything. I mean, yeah, the draw was purely due to the good swindling. That was the reason why I got the result. So,
Yeah. There was
yeah, it's
some
possible.
thing to solve it. I was wondering about after like I think it's around like when you play like king h6 and knight b2 or something like that. Or was it knight c2? I don't remember now. I think it's knight b2. Yeah. So I was thinking instead of knight b2, could you have gone? No. Okay, you could.
I had a brief thought of trying to win, but that was it. The
Yeah.
whole game I was happy with the draw, pretty much. Like, you know, from this point.
So I guess. Oh no, sorry. But I think what I was thinking was knight d2, king h7. I've, but I think what's
Knight e4, knight f6. Ah, or you're trying to play for a win? No, it doesn't work, right?
yeah, I'm guessing that
No.
I'm guessing that's what it is. And then I think the other thing I saw, which I thought was a draw, but I just quickly saw it, so I wasn't sure. I think it was before king h6 was like g6. Oh, okay, it doesn't work because since your king's on h5. Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking if because I was thinking so if white tries to sorry, black wait, what even was I had there's some variation where I somehow thought that I must have given myself an extra tempo or something because where like if you play g7 here, then king f7, knight e5.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean I was just thinking you get the pawn, but yeah, it doesn't work. I don't know. Neither of those variations went as I briefly said.
Okay. So, yeah, so I was very happy with that. This is just a lot of it's to do with the attitude, mainly just with the attitude that I mean, this is pretty much the worst situation you can be in. I mean, I don't know exactly the time situation here, but yeah, like here, for instance, I was 14 minutes down, 22 minutes against 36. I'm completely losing against 2,500. That's like the worst situation you can be in, pretty much. And I still drew. So, the thing is, it's not even like when you look at the position, you think, oh yeah, I mean, I'm losing, but I've got all this counterplay. I mean, I kind of created it myself. I mean, I feel like if I didn't play rook e6, I've just got nothing, like we talked about at the start of the lesson. So, um, you can cause chaos almost out of nothing. Or yeah, different positions will give you different opportunities to make it hard for opponents to win. Like in the last lesson when you lost, you could have made it tougher for white to win. Like you could have defended more tenaciously. It wasn't really about creating counterplay so much, but yeah, it's more about the attitude that you can make it tough on your opponent and get something out of the game, even when not too much in the position indicates that, not getting demoralized. So there's one of the Swindle I had just in my last tournament. I'll just show you as well. Which wasn't nearly as impressive at all. But it was another Swindle. This one was much more extreme. This one, I just a piece down for nothing essentially, and I drew against 2100 this time. So this position I've just blundered, just played an awful move, h takes g6. This position I think I'm actually better. And I played this awful move, h takes g6, opening up the f-file for my opponent's rook against my king and queen. I saw this, of course. I saw bishop f5, but I completely missed queen g5. If for some reason he doesn't have queen g5, I'm doing very well. But for some reason I completely missed queen g5, which defends his bishop. And I'm still in a pin on the f-file, and I'm completely losing. Yeah, for example, my intention was of king g7, queen g4. If moves the bishop, like rook takes h7 check. Or another idea could be bishop takes g6 followed by knight f5 check. So I would be doing very well if not for queen g5. He's got it in many positions actually, but yeah, I missed queen g5. So I'm completely losing. But again, it's about the attitude. This one was much worse and much more lucky. But yeah, another half point save in this game. So I didn't want to allow the structure after bishop takes d5, e takes d5, kind of gumming things up. So I played rook d1, defending the knight with the rook. I actually offered a draw here, just hoping that he might get nervous for some reason, but he just shook his head immediately. Which you shouldn't do, by the way. You should just move to defend down the draw, because maybe you'd want to take it, even if you don't think so. Anyway, rook f7. Yeah, so basically just losing the bishop on f5, and it's just lost. g4, takes. That's the point of rook d1. Rook h5. Kind of similar situation to before, actually. Again, I'm way down on time, losing again. So I don't have much time to come up with a Swindle. I'm just trying to create some threats, cause some mischief. Again, queens actually get traded, which is generally bad when trying to swindle. But I'm just trying to create some threats. Take. So I'm a full piece down. I'm thinking 2100. I'm a full bishop down. How can I possibly save this? I was thinking of resigning. I threatened the b5 pawn. I've got some ideas though, kind of like the last game. If I get something like a takes b5, a takes b5, rook b4 in, I might just win that pawn. Suddenly I've got 2 hectare pass pawns. So didn't think it was worth resigning just yet. He stops that. Then I go takes, rook h3, idea rook g3, at least trying to create some pins, some tactical ideas. He stops that. Knight d4. He's kind of walking into another tactical idea. If b4, then knight c6, double attack. That's the kind of thing you can walk into if you're getting a bit complacent. He defends passively, f3. I'm trying to promote pawn trades. He only has 3 more pawns. He only has 2 more pawns. I'm thinking about endings we can get to. Whereas a draw, I was hoping for rook and knight against rook, or rook and bishop against rook. And drawing. b4, promoting pawn trades, that's good for me. There's only got 1 pawn remaining. And already I'm thinking he's got the wrong pawn for his bishop. So bishop and pawn against king is a draw. So all I have to do is trade my rook, knight, and pawn for his rook and knight, and it's a draw. And it should still be completely winning for him. It shouldn't be that difficult at all for him to avoid this trade, and he should still win easily. But I think he's getting a little bit complacent. Maybe also distracted by my own time travel, which is a common theme when swindling. And shortly, he allowed the draw with h4, which is a very bad move. And I even have a choice of how to draw. I didn't know which one to go for, so I just picked the more forcing one. But luckily, both draw. So how do you draw?
94.
Yeah, that's one of the moves which works. I went for the more forcing where it takes f6 check. I had literally seconds here. He instantly took. I thought this might give him pause for thought. He played king f5 pretty quickly, but then he thought for a long time, probably realizing it was going to be a draw. And yeah, if king g4, my intention was actually king f2 just to make sure I got the draw. I didn't want to risk my king getting cut off and lose, even though I can still draw easily, I think, with the knight. He took. And there's actually one little pitfall for me here. If king f1, then h3, and I lose, because my king has to go to the e-file. But king f3 is more natural anyway. And for some reason, he played on for like 50 moves. Where he's very frustrated, but yeah, I just kept moving in time and eventually offered a draw. And it's very simple. Just put the king on h1, make any legal move, put the king back on h1. That's all I did for the rest of the game. Don't get tempted by the bishop, and then he might fall for something. So yeah, this wasn't as good an example because there's so many ways for him to win. And yeah, short on time, I was more just kind of hoping for a mistake. But it came. And yeah, just another half point saved. If you resign, not going to save it. If you give up and just play any move, not going to save it. So again, even though this isn't as good an example, it's not as convincing, it's not as good as Swindle. You can see that with all my moves, I'm trying my best. I'm trying something. Like I at this point, I saw queen g5. I knew bishop f5 was still losing. This is the best chance. I tried to stop bishop takes d5, e takes d5 structure. I go g4 and support it out on f5, take back with the rook, hit the queen, g5, g6, threatening the knight. So pretty much every move, I mean, you're taking something or threatening something, or at least threatening to threaten. I'm causing some issues. And I think actually in this game, his undoing was complacency. I don't think it's like I created so many threats, you just couldn't deal with it anymore. But yeah, for whatever reason, it worked. So this is huge. I mean, this draw is really important in the tournament. I was very pleased with the other draw. So yeah, these half points saved are huge. There are lots of examples where you swindle your opponent from losing position and win, which is obviously better. But even just saving half point is very important. So, any questions about anything we talked about today at all?
No, maybe I'm slightly misremembering, but I feel like the end game that this led to kind of like vaguely remind me of some maybe multiple times. I don't know, but I've seen that kind of thing in like the RCC or somewhere where like two like strong GMs are playing, where maybe one side has like a pawn for a piece or something, and it's completely lost. But it's amazing how well they can defend like that kind of situation. Like I don't know if I've ever seen them actually like successfully defend down a piece in this kind of end game, but it looks really hard for their opponent to win because they can't get to like knight and rook versus rook or something.
Yeah, I feel like the reason why is an extra piece is such a big advantage is that when the side with more pieces has time to coordinate, they can do something like attack a pawn more times than the opponent can defend it because they've got more pieces, which makes sense. And you lose a pawn. And that concept can be applied to lots of things like pawns, pieces, squares. So it's no wonder the side with the extra piece can gain more advantages and win. But that's only true when they actually coordinate their piece on a specific target and then break through and achieve something. Like in this position, for example, yes, black has an extra bishop, but until he actually starts a winning plan, like pushing the h pawn or winning the c pawn, it's not really that helpful. If he's just maneuvering his pieces around, he's not really doing anything. So, I mean, if it's just completely lost with no hope, you can resign. But already there are some hopes, some chances to draw.
Yeah, I think something like this also has to do with something kind of you mentioned earlier, where about like wanting to trade pawns and losing positions, because like extra piece advantages in like endgames with much less pawns, I feel like they seem to not like that's the only way that they can really not like lead to a win.
Exactly.
Like
If it's just an extra pair of pawns somewhere, then
or if there's no pawns on the board, like whether both sides have rooks or not, it's just a draw.
Yeah, exactly. So if there were an extra pair of pawns on the board, like just blocking each other, he would win easily because my king is occupied by the H pawn. And he
Mhm.
could just take it with his king and win. So all the pawns we traded earlier um, helped to draw. So yeah, so very good. So yeah, just the mentality. Just keep going until the end, um, and you get some points, which feel great when you kind of deserve to lose. So.